Welcome to the Jimmy Jam Sessions podcast, where you will be able to pretty much find out anytime you ever want to jump on. There is, I've always, that thing called a subscribe button. Hit that if you want to be alert for all the new stuff that comes out. Well, I don't have any editing. It's just me going on my phone here because it is what is it right about here? It is about 1:45 in the morning, and it's pretty much about time that I was going to wait till I wake up in the morning, but I'm like wound up because I went out and saw a band this evening with a bunch of old school friends of mine from the area. So this basically needs to be addressed, and I'm going to be shifting my camera back and forth on and off because I don't know exactly. It's been a while since I had it like this. So let's just get right to the exact major point of Steelers got beat again tonight in the playoffs. Third time they faced Baltimore tonight, lost 28-14. Let's just put this in I watched pretty much majority of this game, and first of all, you just never know because the Steelers and the Ravens have such a big history, a huge rivalry. They always have. I mean, it's probably one of the biggest rivalries in the NFL. Lately now, it just doesn't seem like it's anything close because Pittsburgh is in a mass rebuild, though people and Steeler fans, and trust me, I know a lot of Steeler fans in this area. We always say the Steelers don't ever want to hear the word rebuild. Well, unfortunately, you're in this position. You need to basically revamp your offensive line. You have a wide receiver that you have no idea if he's going to become the next Antonio Brown. You've got good pieces running back. You might lose one, but you're actually not bad at it. You've got weapons that are scattered, but you also drafted one that got hurt, and you never played him when he was healthy. And yet, let's just talk about the Steelers for a minute. They've always been that blue collar-esque type of team that we've always known. We've known them from the 70s, steel curtain, everything, 4 Super Bowls. Then you get 2 more with Ben, and with one with Cowher and one with Tomlin. And then they had another chance against the Packers, and they were outclassed by Aaron Rodgers. So let's just, at this moment, and even Ben himself have said they've regressed. They don't know who their quarterback's going to be. You went with Mitch Trubisky for a little bit. And then you really didn't draft one. I mean, you needed to get one. And so you went out and you actually made some moves. You actually went out, took a risk, and rolled the dice to get Russell Wilson and not have to worry about that contract in Denver. You only paid him for 1 year. And you also made a move to get Justin Fields, which means basically if Russell Wilson doesn't work, then Justin Fields can be your future. Now we don't know if it's either one, because we know how hardcore Steeler fans are, and me growing up as a Steeler fan, and I know I'm a Falcons fan too, but I will support the Steelers. I've said that many times. Tonight they were just outclassed and just outcoached, and even the defense took a beating. Did TJ Watt do anything? Not really. In fact, he was manhandled. Cam Hayward was hurt. And, even Minka Fitzpatrick got stiff-armed by Derrick Henry. Baltimore did not have Zay Flowers, so what did Lamar do? 16-21, $175 and 2 touchdowns. Derrick Henry, 26 carries, 186 yards. How embarrassing. And 2 touchdowns of his own. Even Lamar ran 15 for 81. You don't have that downfield threat. I mean, they've got wide receivers. But they got wide receiver. They had to rely on Nelson Aguilar, Rashard Bateman, Tylan Wallace. But they even had to rely on their two tight ends, Likely and Mark Andrews. Likely led with 3 catches for 53 yards. Bateman had a touchdown. Justice Hill, the second running back, had a touchdown. And that touchdown was a backbreaker because That was one where Lamar was running for his life on the right side, and nobody could catch him because that's how Lamar is. And he just found a wide open Justice Hill with nobody around him for 5 yards. The Steelers did, in fact, try to make this a second half game, which they did because they drove down the field and another teardrop touchdown that Russell Wilson's very good at to, I believe it was what was it? It was Van Jefferson. And then he threw another one that Pickens got. Pickens also had a good catch, but he also got called back because of a pass interference call. Najee Harris did not do a whole heck of a lot. They only had 29 yards rushing. I hate saying this, but it's almost bullish. Baltimore had 299. And people wonder what, like, well, it's Pittsburgh and Ravens. Anything can happen. Do you know how much Baltimore has pretty much grown in the last handful of years? Not just with organization things. I mean, we're talking Lamar Jackson. People thinking he's just a thug. And to be quite honest with you, he's actually one of the smartest NFL players in the league. And he's not Michael Vick. He doesn't want to be Michael Vick. He's his own cat. And I don't have to sit here and be a Ravens fan, but I can sit here and say somebody's got to beat Kansas City. But at the same time, you know, we're looking at a point where Baltimore, we don't know what's going to happen. They may face Buffalo next week unless something happens and Bo Nix just goes off on an absolute banger in Orchard Park. I don't know what's going to happen. But someone's got to beat Kansas City, but it wasn't going to be Pittsburgh. And besides, I told a bunch of people this. You had a nice little 7-game winning streak, and then we threw this at everybody. You had the second, probably one of the worst schedules in the league, especially the second half of the season. That 7-game stretch at the end, especially 3 games in 10 days, yeah, you weren't not necessarily prepared, but you got humiliated in all of them. Even Kansas City toyed with you on Christmas Day at home because that's how good Mahomes is. Did they get a couple calls? Sure. But Kansas City is head and tails, head and shoulders way better of an organization right now. And nobody there, and I know I say this a lot, but nobody wants to see another Patriots dynasty, and it looks like we're going to have it. But we're not talking about Kansas City as much because they're just waiting for the lowest seed. And very well, if things go the way they're supposed to be, it's probably going to end up being Houston. So I don't know necessarily how it's going to turn out. But Baltimore's going to be a player. But it's going to depend on, because whoever wins that game is getting Kansas City. Because I don't know if Houston is going to have the tools to go to Arrowhead. Nick Wright's Arrowhead Invitational. So that's Baltimore. They were clearly better team. Lamar doesn't say his Lamar, like I said, what is it, 16-21 with a passer rating of 132. He's not going anywhere. You don't have to like the Ravens, but they're definitely head and tails a better run organization right now. Now, I'm going to get to Pittsburgh, and I'm just going to be clear. I've got a lot of people. I was talking on and off on Facebook with a bunch of people, and I just sit here and I'm just going, it was like 3-1 time of possession in the first half. I mean, Baltimore drove down the field, and the Steelers only had 2 first downs. And Baltimore, like I said, they were like 3-1 time of possession. And that touchdown at the end of the first half probably kicked them in the groin. Because here's Pittsburgh trying to play second half. And they get that one touchdown to Van Jefferson because Russell Wilson can throw the deep ball. That's one of the reasons they switched to Russell Wilson, because he can throw those deep balls and those teardrop passes a little bit better than Justin Fields can. And Justin Fields was throwing those balls at Ohio State. Now, here's going to be my take, and I've said this many times to many people. I don't know how it's going to go because I'm going to hear so many people say Tomlin needs to go. I don't have a say in this, but I can say simply because Not just oh, well, he's never had a losing season. Well, I really hate to throw this wrench in the freaking boiler fire here. Look what you have, and I'm going to say this and probably shut the video down. Look what you have in the AFC. Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar, and even Justin Herbert. You now could throw Bo Nix in there. Tua, Trevor Lawrence when he's healthy. I could say Aaron Rodgers if he's healthy and he has the right coach. The AFC is just absolutely sickening with quarterback talent, and Pittsburgh's not anywhere, shape, or form in the position to say they can get to that next level. They're not. They're really not. I don't know necessarily to put this, but there's people I know off the top. Tomlin needs to go. Well, where are you going to go? Who are you going to hire? We got to hire somebody. The biggest thing is, I mean, he can easily take over a franchise because he's a player's coach. He's a team coach, but he's a defensive coach. I don't know who you're going to get. There's a crap load of always every year about 6 to 7 teams that need a coach, and who knows? He signed a new deal. He signed an extension, but that doesn't mean they don't have to that they can keep him. If someone wants to offer him something, hell, Chicago could offer him, and trust me, if he went to Chicago, he'd make that team better in a year. If he went to the Patriots, he'd make that team better in a year or two. Same deal like, the Jets or the Raiders, because people will listen to this man. But you're going to need somebody. You need an offensive coach. Your offense has no identity. Russell helped you out a little bit, but it's Russell Wilson, 35, 36 years old, and you get Justin Fields. I mean, I was like, okay, they went and made some moves. Amar Khan made a bunch of moves, more moves than a lot of people and older and like past GMs ever made. But now you've got many things to worry about, and I just say figure out your coach. Arthur Smith is going to get some head coaching calls, even though he wasn't really a good head coach in Atlanta. But major things you need to do, you need to figure out your quarterback system. Your offensive line still needs work, and that's one of your number one things you need to fix. And yeah, you went and got an offensive line from Georgia this year, and he was hit and miss. So you got an off season to think about this. You need to think about if George Pickens is worth being on your team. And yet here we are again, all over again, with having a diva wide receiver. First you had AB, then you had Claypool, then you had that Texas wide receiver, and then it was Deontay Johnson. I don't think he even was a problem. You need to figure stuff out for the wide receivers, because you may not have Najee next year. It may be Warren full-time as your running back. But you're not going to lose Freemuth. You got that one kid that's going to play next year. You have a lot of questions to think about besides Tomlin. And I'm really to the point where I'm never going to stop hating the Steelers. I will always support them. But it's realism. And Pittsburgh fans don't want to hear rebuild. Look what happened to Cleveland. If they get the right quarterback, we thought they did when they got Baker, and now look what Baker's doing. And Cleveland the fit hit the shan this year. And they're probably going to get another quarterback, because we heard Watson tore his Achilles again. And they got the second pick, so it looks like Pittsburgh's going to have a middle of the round draft. I don't know who you're going to jump after, because this is not a good draft class. So I just find a lot of what ifs, like if Russell could have played better. If this really wasn't even about Russ. He was that dedicated to be a Steeler, at least this season. So do you ride with him? I've heard rumors he may sign a new 3-year deal next year. What are you going to do with Justin Fields? Hey, maybe the Raiders can take him off and give you some draft capital. You need that for your offensive line. I don't know which direction it could go. It's just you figure out what you need to do, because Steeler Nation, you can sit there and play renegade all you want. You have a team that is not competing in any way, shape, or form with a Kansas City, with a Buffalo, with a Philadelphia, with even Detroit, a Green Bay, the Rams, now even Denver, because they got the coach. Baltimore will always be up. Cincinnati, if they don't crap themselves in the first half of that season, Cincinnati was going to be a terror in the playoff. So I just say, you put yourself in this position and you lost 4 straight going into the playoff. That's not the way you want to even. That's even in hockey talk. You don't want to have a bad stretch going into the playoff, because then you get in that first round in 7 and you just start, hey, I don't know how to play again. And you end up losing a series in 5. And this is what happens. And the Steelers, there's something up if the Jaguars have more postseason victories in the last 8 years than you do. So it feels, and it was a bad weekend all around. Penn State loses on a very bad throw at the end. And the Penguins get shut out by Ottawa at home after in a matinee game. So it really isn't the greatest of weekends, but I go to work and we all F up things at work, and I got a workmate that says it a lot, and we say it all the time. I'll get better.